Hey, boys and girls, weather report for August 23rd, 2021, brought to you by lack of good judgment. Are you guys around? Ooh.
By good judgment, huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
lack of good judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do this.
I found a video clip here that's apparently another of Otangelo's attempts to make a point on atheist experience.
Ooh.
So I think we want to pull it up.
Okay.
Pull it up and play it.
All right.
This is recent, I guess, huh?
Is it recent?
Yeah, it looks like it's from yesterday. It's about 64 minutes in, if the math is right.
So this is from CRISPR.
Yeah, well, Wooly Ignorant pointed it out, and I think CRISPR.
Yeah, you got to be careful of atheist experience too, right? You get flagged for that too, right?
Yeah, well, fuck them.
Yeah.
I'm not monetized anyway, so I don't know. Okay,
well, I see why he got on, because of it wasn't Matt and it wasn't Jenna. It's Johnny Angel and Jim Barrows.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
They might have let that slip, but I'm trying to see if I can see his name. Go ahead. Do you want me to pull it up, or?
Why don't you try it for a change?
Okay, let me switch computers.
So it's at 104. 104 is kind of where it starts.
Okay, here we go.
And this is
to the beginning again. I don't know why. So
it's 23 hours ago. So
yeah, they were. Yeah, that's when their regular show was on. It's
so vintage wine.
Okay, next caller.
All right, let me share screen. Number 2, and boom, and I'm gonna hit play.
Just want to get this one.
Let me know if you can hear it.
Yeah.
Dave from Texas, or are you talking about Tangelo?
Oh, Tangelo. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Tangelo, what you got for us today? What script you gonna read for us?
Boom, boom.
For taking my call. Okay, here is my argument and my syllogism. One, DNA is a molecule that stores assembly information to make proteins, which are molecular.
Oh, sound quit.
We lost
sound, Scott. We lost all of Scott. I think we even lost communication with him.
So many calls by a Tangelo.
Oh, there it goes.
Sound was cut out for a minute.
The sound cut out. Did that like die when you muted or something? Because as soon as you started talking, the sound came back.
Okay, let me try this again.
I didn't get that.
Maybe it's coming through your mic or something, or I don't know. The sound. I don't know.
And you just go into this tirade.
We can hear it now. Oh, we can't now. Yeah.
We can't now.
If I mute it, it'll go out.
Okay,
so.
Yep.
So your problem with your first premise is the use of the word information. And DNA does not store information. DNA is a chemical that other chemicals interact with. The word information is simply something that we use as a mental model for how that happens, and it does not mean the same thing as information that you and I use. For instance, a map is information on how to get from point A to point B. So that's my entire objection to the use of the word information. DNA is a chemical, yes. It's a chemical that other chemicals interact with, yes. But there is no data and there is no information involved. It's just chemicals.
You are unmuted now, Tangelo. what is your response to Jim's very specific response to your claim?
He rage quit already.
You're cutting in and out, and we're getting mostly silence on your end, Angela. I'm sorry.
Try again, please.
Okay, I'll try again. I disagree with James' claim. It is known that DNA stores instructional assembly information, which is through the...
No. So, again, my objection, Angela...
Interrupting me. Why can I not finish?
Go ahead and mute
Because
again.
I'm interrupting you at the point where I have a disagreement so that we can talk about the specific disagreement, Angela. So... specifically, information is defined as facts provided or learned about something or someone. The second definition is what is conveyed or represented by a typical arrangement or sequence of facts. And if you mean information is that second one, then you are correct. But I don't think you do. I think you're thinking that it's facts provided or learned about something. In other words, facts about how to build a human being, and that is not correct. It is simply an arrangement of chemicals.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the function of DNA?
It's a chemical that other chemicals react with that eventually builds cells and animals and plants.
Okay, so it builds cells. So it instructs the assembly of proteins, and it instructs to the sequence of nucleotides the correct sequence.
So when you say instructs, what exactly do you mean by the word instructs?
The sequence of nucleotides says how the sequence of amino acids will be assembled. The sequence of amino.
So let me go back again. I'm sorry. You say that it says how to do something. How does it say how to do something? Because when you say that, it usually means there's information being transmitted. How is that being transmitted?
Well, through the to a messenger RNA, and then the translation to the ribosome, which then makes the polymerization of the amino acids, which then become proteins.
It's chemicals doing chemical stuff. Yes.
Yes.
There's no information. There's no facts being stored. It's simply chemicals being stored. Chemicals that other chemicals interact with. I agree with that.
I skipped as many science classes as I could in high school, so I think
foreskin.
This is the limit where I can participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at first I wanted to push back on this Jim Barrows guy about information and DNA, but the way he's putting it, okay, he's using information in the same way that Otangelo is, as facts or instructions or as a blueprint to build something, right? And he's telling Otangelo, no, that's not what DNA is. There are no facts in there. There's no instructions. There's no blueprint. It's just chemicals. So now I kind of like this Jim Barrows. So anyway, go on.
Shall we proceed?
Yeah, proceed. Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So how does that prove that? How does that prove your point that there's a God?
Well, again, the sequence of nucleotides, right, in order to have a functional sequence of amino acids, which then will fold into 3D form and become functional.
I just did my own foreskin, and it was very painful.
Well, again.
Did you see where he slipped right back into the script?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, again.
How does this lead to God? Well, let me finish my...
like that. Yeah. Well, again, how does this lead to God? And just repeat the same fucking bullshit argument he had the first time.
Yeah.
And then also, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
I mean, truly, how many times have you got, between the three of us, I've heard this same exact argument with Otangelo, and it has never worked on anybody ever. Nobody has ever agreed with him. So, I mean, wouldn't you give up? I would. I mean, I don't know. I just could not continue to do what he does.
You ever wonder if this is just an experiment, that he's really a rationalist, actually, and he's just trying to figure how, it's sort of like how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
Read the script before a skeptic or secularist starts to believe in God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to hand it to him when he says again, he really fucking means again, because he's done this 5,000 times the same.
I know.
And he can't understand why we can't see the clarity in how again leads you right to God. And it's just amazing that you can't penetrate that fucking thick skull of his and try to get him to look at it from another perspective. I mean, my God, what the hell, Angela?
I mean, I was actually discussing this a little bit the other day with Peter. Me and Peter were discussing it after shows ended and everything. And, I talked to him about just recently, his most recent arguments that he's had. That one with, the one with Jason, the one with Phil Ferguson, and then that other guy, Stacks something. I mean, all the most recent people that he's kind of had discussions with, it seems to me that Ontangelo's, at least in my opinion, has gotten like destroyed. He seems to like this argument here, he's been doing forever, right? And then once he started in with Darth Dawkins and he tried to incorporate his, the presuppositionalist arguments in with his evidential, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
He's trying to combine them now. And it seems like to me, he's got himself all screwed up and he can't, and he seems to be getting beaten up and losing arguments much worse than he did before, because he can't seem to string it together. And he seems to, like I said, in my opinion, it seems to get really pounded pretty hard, against people that he has discussions with, because he just can't. I think he's got himself all screwed up.
Yeah, this John Smith says he doesn't believe the nonsense he spews. I'm afraid I really disagree with you. I really think he believes it.
He does. He definitely does.
And it's that whole thing we were talking with Jason Porn on belief the other day, where this belief thing is a very powerful feature in human brains. And once you have a belief, if you are unwilling to just meticulously and powerfully question that belief and unwind where you got that belief from, if you're just out there and you're fighting with somebody and I've got my belief and I'm going to stick to it, it's like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask, and I don't have to. It's just like, it's just, there's no penetrating it. There's no having a conversation unless a person is willing to stop and start to unwind where that belief came from. Why do I believe what I believe? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
And then we get into that fine line of like Ontangelo, like you just said, and we really agree. He truly believes that, that DNA and all the stuff that he's talking about is, factories and machines and all. I mean, I think he truly believes that, and God created it and all that. But yet along the line, he's dishonest. He knows for sure that he cherry picks things, and he knows for sure that he's kind of misrepresenting papers. So where do you draw the line of, is he just lying to himself? Is he, where do you draw that line? And that's where it becomes, a little fishy for me, or a little difficult to figure it out,
Yeah. You got to have a willingness to really look deeply into yourself. This comment by Chris Peacock, I thought, was really kind of spectacular. The amount of effort he puts into refuting evolution, but yet he won't put that same effort into,
right?
These fucking artifacts that he believes in.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Oh, we should go cherry pick a bunch of quotes of people that have talked about that artifact and put them up and say, "Oh, in this prestigious paper, They said that artifact is bullshit. Just do the same. We don't use their tactics on them as often as we should, I think. I don't know.
Now, there's an interesting, read Maverick's comment. Maverick is he's, I don't know if he calls himself a Christian. He's almost, I think his
feeling of self-worth, yada, yada, yada. I shouldn't continue all the belief. Well, yeah, no, the thing is, if you are a Christian, Maverick, you don't need to to cling to ideas about evolution or anything like that in order to be a Christian and in order to powerfully believe and have faith in what you have faith in.
Right.
That's the one point where you should maybe suspend digging into it. I mean, if it gives you comfort and it feels right and it gives you a spiritual purpose,
that's a good thing. That's fine.
Do that. But consider that God is so great and so mysterious that we don't know anything about him at all. We're just going to have faith in God. And we don't have to know anything or believe anything about God or any of that stuff. So.
See, he wrote there, I'm not a Christian. He's a believer in God, which is, I guess you would call him a deist. I don't know if you call yourself a deist.
Are you? Are you you aren't the MK from Praises Stream, aren't you? Maverick? No. Okay.
Maverick has been around. He's kind of tough he can be a little aggressive in chats many times. I've seen him pretty aggressive.
But the thing is, like you could believe in God in the same way that I do as an atheist, basically, which is kind of like I just lean back and rely on the universe to be the fucking magical thing that it is, and I can call that God if I want, and I can still call myself an atheist because I don't have a particular version of God that I rely on. But I mean, I have all the benefits. So if you have all the benefits, I don't know.
He calls himself a pantheist.
Pantheist, yeah. Well,
an entheist. That's a little bit different.
Well, that's sort of I think now, if I got it right, basically a pantheist would think God was in everything in the universe. Universe was God, right? And that God is in everything. But a panentheist thinks that there's something deeper underneath the universe that is that deity. But but it's not necessarily a thinking anthropic deity or whatever. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Maverick. But
no, I think you're pretty close. Based on what I know about him, you're pretty close, I think.
Yeah, based on what's beneficial for you. That is a choice. But then if you do that, you're not going to go out and fight with all scientists over evolution. Why would you go out and fight science?
Right.
Just because your view is beneficial to you. I mean, if you want to be a pragmatist about your belief, there's not a goddamn thing wrong with that. And I think that's what 90% of us do, even atheists, for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do the fight. You don't have to justify what the hell you believe if you choose. But unless you're not going to wear a mask or get a vaccine, well, then I think you need to justify a little bit. But anyway, I'm pretty pissed at anti-vaxxers right now.
Dessel just wrote there too. I like that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that there is a pragmatic way to not hold any. What it's called is not holding a belief. It's called having faith, which is just the opposite of having a belief. If you have a belief, you're specifying, you're grabbing onto, you're fighting. Whereas if you just have faith, you don't need to think about anything at all. Just fucking do it. So it's a little different. Like when you jump on a skateboard and have faith that your body's going to be able to take you down the street and do that particular jump without killing yourself.
I have never had such faith in
skateboards. Me neither.
I have always had the faith that I'm going to break something, and I'm definitely going to hit the ground hard and probably get a lot of grass and shit in my mouth.
Yeah, my experience with skateboarding is having tripped over one once on one occasion. That's about it. And, almost broken my arm. But anyway, you want to play the rest of this?
Let's keep on.
Yeah.
molecular machines, which are proteins. That
I'm sorry.
sequence has to be right. And in order for you to have it right, you need the information which is the sequence of nucleotides stored in DNA.
No, I mean, so that does not prove a God. That only proves that if the DNA worked differently, or the chemicals in DNA were different, that we would be formed differently. Does not prove a God.
Or we wouldn't be here arguing about it.
Well, it would not form functional proteins. That is the key issue.
It would, right. It would perform different proteins that would do different things, and we would have, and if there was life at all, it would be different. That's all you get out of that, is if things were different, things would be different. That does not prove God.
Right. Well, the thing is that the sequence is huge. In order to have a functional sequence, you have to choose amongst many possible different sequences. And just to give you,
so what?
Are you counting the hits and ignoring the misses then?
Yeah, I don't see what that point is, Angela.
Well, if I can finish my sentence, then you'll know what my point is. Okay.
I'm a victim.
So, if you have an alternative to intelligence, sequencing the right sequence, and that would be random unguided events. Just to give you an example, an average-sized protein has about 300 amino acids. To have a right sequence just of a third, about 100 amino acids, the odds are 1 to 10 to the 150.
Okay, so I can stop you right there, Angelo. I don't care what the odds are, because the odds of it happening are 1 because they did. In order to prove what the odds are against, you need to know what the entire field is. But that still doesn't prove, just because the odds are against something happening, and it does happen, that does not prove that somebody was behind the event, the highly unlikely event. Right? It doesn't prove anything other than the event happened. So what? How does the odds against it prove anything?
Well, you have two options. Either it was intelligence that was involved.
Two options.
Right sequence,
yeah, two options, my ass.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, I thought you might have said.
Yeah, no, we would just say the two options. You only have two options. Two options, my ass. Yeah.
Either God exists or he does not.
Yeah.
You know? Either I exist or I do not. Either anything fucking exists or do not.
Yeah. Yep.
But did you see where he said that, like machines, which are protein, or did he say? How did he put that?
Machines that make proteins or something?
No. I think he actually said, what the fuck was it? Where did I have it? Right up there. He actually said this out loud. I don't know what the fuck. I heard it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I misheard, but who knows? Oh, like with machines, which are proteins. What? Yeah. He said that. Yeah. Of course, he misspoke, but I love clipping little.
Do you think he really misspoke? Because he really likes that machine.
So he designs machines, but he uses the amino acids to do it with. You know, all of his machines are made out of amino acids.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that will probably, obviously that really makes that belief really sink in, is because he's an engineer. So, this is a huge part of his belief, this garbage that he's spewing here, right?
Yeah.
Because of that, yeah.
So Maverick Dessel is not a very good Buddhist, so he doesn't get Buddhism at all. He really doesn't like it. So
I don't think Maverick's a Buddhist. He said he's a panentheist.
Same thing.
I thought that was a pantheist.
Same thing.
He really talks like a Christian, though. I mean, Maverick, he says he's a pantheist, but he spews a lot of Christian garbage. I've seen him around in chats. He's been around for a long time. He can get pretty aggressive and get in some pretty heated arguments and chats and stuff.
Yeah.
And he sounds exactly like a Christian, really. I mean,
so for a pragmatist, what the hell are you arguing for? I mean, that seems to go against making you feel good and having a good, strong faith that you just believe for pragmatic reasons. That doesn't make any sense, Maverick. Does it? I mean, what the fuck?
And here's a pragmatic thing. When I was a kid, I used to like to, sleep with a teddy bear and everything, like a really young kid. But how many adults do you see walking around with teddy bears and actually, sleeping in them and sleeping with them, talking to them. There comes a point where your your more imaginary friends need to go away, and you deal with reality and find other more evidence-based ways to find comfort.
Yeah, well, when you're still young yet, when the dating pool is small, you'll start sleeping with teddy bears again.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, that's good to be called young.
Yep. There will be a point where your entire dating pool will be your teddy bear and nothing else. Anyway.
Top Dog is absolutely right. A screw is a type of machine. It's a simple machine. You betcha.
Yes, it is.
Okay, hit play.
It's a mechanism. Okay, great.
No. Those are not the only two options. Because you know what the other option is? That it's not random. It's not random. It doesn't have to be random. Chemicals doing what chemicals do is not random. What chemicals do is based on the laws of chemistry. Now, the laws of chemistry happen to be based on the laws of physics, and the laws of physics happen to be based on the quantum, or the logic of quantum mechanics. So everything comes down to quantum mechanics. None of that is random. So what?
If you could not have any assembly and any sequence, then you could not have information. So that the sequence.
You don't have information the way you mean it. So just don't quit using the word information, because you and I are going to disagree on your usage of that word, because you're not using it correctly.
You don't have to disagree with me. You would have to disagree with biologists.
Well,
Angela, when a biologist says information, I agree that what they're talking about is what is conveyed or represented by an arrangement or sequence of things, and that is not how you're using that word. You're using that word to mean facts provided or learned about something.
Exactly.
You're using the same word completely different from the way biologists do. So I agree with biologists. I don't agree with your usage.
I am not using descriptive information. I am using prescriptive information. The meaning of prescriptive means that the sequence of a nucleotide stored in DNA prescribes the sequence of amino acids which are required to be
No, it does not.
Yes.
Do you have a deeper truth to share with us, Speed?
Oh, no, it doesn't prescribe. It just ends up bumping into other things, and that's what gets created. So this Jim Barrows is exactly right, that Otangelo is using information in the same way that Jim is, as facts about something or a blueprint or instructions, and biologists do not use that definition at all. So while Otangelo is claiming, and Maddox does this too, he will, cherry pick all this stuff from biosemiotics. They're not fucking talking about something being intelligently designed and prescribing what a protein is going to be. They're describing the differences in the sequence as being information itself. So they're using a more mathematical definition of information, which applies to anything in the universe, including this little chunk of granite I have under my microscope right now. Basically, how if you were to determine all the information that goes into where those crystals are and how they're oriented in that granite and what size they are and all of that, you would end up with this massive, basically, idea of information, but it is an idea of information. Okay, the rock itself is something else. So anyway, I believe in the physical basis of information. So I use the term the way the biologists do, but Jim Barrows is pointing out to Otangelo that he's fudging like hell, going from one definition to the other.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if Otangelo tries to switch over to the precept during this or not.
Yeah, let's.
I haven't listened to it, so I don't know.
I wish we had a graphic that could just independently go off if he switches to precept.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Drops a precept. That would be cool.
Yeah. If only ever to use OBS like Peter wants me to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here we go.
chemicals doing chemical stuff. We've already said, I agree, chemicals do chemical things, but you still haven't proven that any of that is a result of a God. You claim randomness. I pointed out that the odds of that happening are apparently 1 because they did, and the odds against something happening, no matter how great the odds, doesn't mean that there's an intelligence behind the event happening. So what next?
Well, if the odds are beyond what the universe in 14 billion years is possible to convey.
I don't care about what the odds are because they don't prove anything. The odds don't prove that somebody guided it.
Well, I think if you have 2 options on the table, Jim, one is intelligence and the other is not.
So how do you know those are the only 2 options on the... It's not random. That's my point. It is not random. It's all based on quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics informs physics. Physics informs chemistry. Chemicals doing chemical things. None of that is random.
Right. He's saying
Quantum mechanics would dictate the sequence of the nucleotides. Then you could not. Then they would be constrained. Then you could only have a very specific sequence, which would be dictated by quantum mechanics.
Yes, and that's what we have. That's the evidence that we have right now. That's the evidence that we have. And you're saying that evidence points to a God. And I'm going, where? Where's the God involved in this? It's all natural causes.
Well, you keep claiming it, Jim, but the thing is that if the possibility of random shuffling is beyond what the universe in 14 billion years is capable of doing, then
the problem is that you're assuming that all possible events are equally probable, and you can't demonstrate that. You can't demonstrate that all events are probable, right? So, for instance, if I've got a 6-sided dice and it's weighted correctly, each side of the dice has an equal opportunity to come up. But if I weight that dice, then all of a sudden, more often, a 6 will come up or whatever I weighted it to. And so you can't assume that all options are equally valid or have the exact same possibility of happening. We don't know that. There's no way to show that. So the odds of the speed of light being what it are, you can calculate that somehow. Maybe, I don't know how. But that doesn't mean that all those possibilities are equally weighted. We just don't know that. So again, I don't care what the odds are because they don't prove anything because we don't know enough about this universe, much less how other universes could have formed to begin to even figure out what the probabilities should be. It is entirely possible that with quantum mechanics, this is the only universe possible. It's entirely possible that it's not. We don't know. So again, how the argument from odds makes no headway with me, and it shouldn't with you, but apparently it does. So what do you got?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get what we're looking for with Atangelo. Go ahead. Last thoughts, please, Atangelo, and make them brief.
Try that.
With Jim, and it is well known by all science that DNA stores instructional assembly information to make protein.
We already granted you that.
Danikins. By the way, I can't remember, when did we vote Otangelo the ambassador of all science? He's claiming this for all science, and all scientists do this, and all biologists do this. But does he really know enough to know what all science and all biology does?
And the funny thing is how much he disagrees with scientific findings, right?
Definitely.
I mean, he's a young earther, so that's what makes it a joke with him.
Yep.
Here we go.
Are we almost done with him?
Sounds like he's
unguided random events, therefore intelligent.
Yeah, Jim, I think
thank you so much.
We
covered it.
Move on?
Yeah, done and dusted.
I never want to take another Atangelo call for the rest of my life.
At the time we took it, we didn't have that many theists. So if nobody else wants to keep the theists calling.
That's right.
All right. Who do you want to go to?
So that was the latest Otangelo sighting on the.
Otangelo is kind of famous, you know that? Everybody fucking knows him, and everybody has booted him from their platform.
Please, Dave from Texas.
Sorry about that.
No.
That was very interesting.
I'm surprised he's not banned. I mean, they must ban him and then unban him, or
I guess it's a host by host thing. Like, when Matt's on there, they're not going to take an Otangelo call.
Right. Matt, I don't think Matt will anymore. Yeah,
but and probably some of the other.
Other ones too.
Yeah. So so here now, Standing for Truth. Okay, these guys released a video, Discovery Institute. Basically, it's the what is the channel here? What the hell? Discovery Science, they call it. Yeah. Oh my God, what a fucking what a tragedy in naming. Anyway, so there's a there's a group of PhDs that were present on a panel on Standing for Truth show, and then he had an after show, and they had Sigard on there. Sigard is the only one that didn't contribute to this little 10-minute video that they did. And Standing for Truth had 2 shows, and he had a big debut, basically, because he is just, he thinks this is like going to be the greatest, long story short, fucking takedown of abiogenesis ever. And so anyway, that's the backstory. So this is the original video from Discovery Institute. And keep in mind that those are the guys that have to sign a thing saying, if anything runs against the Bible, you go with the Bible, no matter how much evidence you have that the Bible's wrong. Right? So.
Yep.
Did I forget to share the sound on this thing? Let's just see. Let me go ahead and play it.
Good news. And
I can hear it. You good?
Okay. Good.
Bad news is
everything is trying to kill you.
Those French fries you just ate, probably clogging your arteries right now. Dead. Spiders, they want you dead. The sun wants you dead too. Legos on the floor. Instant death. The good news is, most things are actually sort of bad at killing you. Sun, bam, sunscreen. French fries, bam, eat some leaves. Legos, bam, shoes. Spooters, also shoes. But no matter how many shoes you have and leaves you eat, eventually you will die. We all know that when a living thing dies, nature takes its course. An irreversible one-way path of decay begins. The bits that the thing was made of, its complex molecules, they start to degrade and become disorganized and smelly. This natural process is unavoidable, and we have all observed it. Surprisingly, some really smart people, from Charles Darwin to scientists today, believe that the opposite process has occurred.
Okay, first of all, when things break down like that, I mean, they can with oxidation, but it is life that actually breaks things down faster than anything else. So they kind of slide over the fact that basically when a fish rots, it's from bacteria and from life itself that rots itself. Okay. And I think that's an important thing to note. I don't know.
Yep.
Say, a long time ago, purely natural processes somehow created and arranged molecules required for the first ever living organism from a primordial soup. And that led.
So the first lie there is that purely natural, non-life, non-biotic processes rot things. And that's not the case. So that's a lie.
To life as we know it today. Maybe you've seen this contraption before. It's like in every biology textbook. Decades ago, these 2 scientists, Stanley Miller and Harold Urey, made this experiment to try and test if life can come from non-life.
Another lie. That wasn't what they were doing. They were trying to find out if they could create basic building blocks of life. They weren't trying to get life from non-life. So you agree that is a really bad lie?
Yep. And that's just typical. And here we are, right back to what we just talked about. You know,
with these videos,
doing
they
this
just
purposely.
Yeah. With these videos, they just slip in all sorts of bad information real quickly, without exploring it, because it's supposed to be cartoonish and for kids. or something.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, they're convincing a crowd that isn't used to working too hard on what they believe.
Right. Yep.
Abiogenesis, sometimes called chemical evolution. Textbooks count the Miller-Urey experiment and others like it as evidence of this. The picture's painted that with a few tweaks and enough time, they're just a hop, jump, and a skip away from creating life.
Who the hell said that? Who has ever said that? Another lie. They're lying.
Yeah. Walker, is that the quote source?
Yeah. Reconceptualizing the origins of life. Let's see. There was optimism that had the experiment been left running, living creatures would soon be crawling. When the hell was that?
That's historical summation.
I guess they were optimistic that they were gonna find the pathway sooner than they have, but it's going to take another 100 or 150 years before we come close to figuring this out. So we're just babies. We're infants in this field. So anyway, check my email. Okay.
They contend that under the right conditions, getting the building blocks of life is easy enough. And from there, life would flow naturally.
And it is, because they've shown that.
But is this really the case? Let's take a look more closely. Simpler chemicals have indeed been transformed into some of the building blocks of life in the lab. That much is true. But how impressive is it? Well, about as impressive as water turning into ice. When the situation is right, water freezes.
Peter's holding me ransom here. He wants to trade a link for making my for doing my thumbnail picture. Oh my God, he drives a hard bargain.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm considering your offer there, Peter. I'm working on it.
Peter.
Likewise, these building blocks form spontaneously as well when the situation is right. The important questions are, how do these lab experiments compare to reality, and how close do these building blocks get us to life? In other words, if we had the building blocks, will life flow naturally as the biology textbooks seem to indicate? One dirty little secret of these origin of life experiments is that they don't actually start with plausible natural conditions. These experimenters, I don't want to say cheated, let's say they cheated. They sort of just cheated. These scientists begin with pure industrial strength ingredients. These are never found in nature like that.
Okay, here we have a bunch of people in academia saying that all these this entire field of research that they're cheating and lying, right?
Right.
That's what this fucking video is about.
Yeah, it's just trying to badmouth the people on a different side of the argument from them.
I was a little put off by their PhDs alongside their names and doing this kind of slimy bullshit. I don't know. Anyway.
That in such extreme concentrations and purity, certainly not all in the same location. Billions of dollars worth of precise machinery created and operated by thousands of very intelligent people in labs all around the world over the course of many decades is what gets us to the point where these experiments can even begin. Another dirty little secret of these origin of life experiments lies in the presentation of their results. Even cheating like they did, what exactly do they end up with? The vast majority of what they make is actually toxic garbage. For example, in this paper, over 99% of what they make is not only unwanted, but effectively destroys the building block's ability to form more complex molecules. The very process that makes these building blocks also critically stops them dead in their tracks.
Okay, so they cited a paper that used modeling to create basically basic building blocks, and they showed that these basic building blocks do arise, that there is a network where they arise, but the 99% of them don't, which is exactly how it works. But 99% is, or 1% is really extremely high when it comes to these probabilistic, basically calculations going toward life. I mean, 1% is pretty goddamn good. It's going to happen if you get that 1%, right?
Right.
So I got to look into that paper exactly, but that looks like a good paper. But it was a model. They didn't actually do these lab experiments, and they go and claim that the very process that makes these building blocks stops them dead in their tracks. No, No, that's not what happens. The fact that these things fall out of those models means that they're going to be there, and they're not just there once. They're going to fall out of the model over and over and over again. So they're always going to be that 1%. They want you to think that this 1% is created, and then the other things destroy it, and they have no evidence for that. And the other thing that they go on about is it's called the Tony mistake, the Tony stupid, where they say that we should start with non-pure reagents to do these experiments. No, that's not how you do a laboratory experiment. Because if you had impurities and you got a result, then the impurities would destroy the meaning of your result, because you wouldn't know what you had in there. So you have to start with extremely controlled environments, and then you figure out what step happens, right? And none of this proves a pathway to abiogenesis. It just shows you this one pathway, how to get from point A to point B. So Jason, we all got that email with Otangelo rambling.
Yeah.
Did you guys get it?
100 that you threw in the trash. Yeah.
Otangelo has given up acknowledging my existence long ago. So I'm not on his email streams.
Yeah, I think he hates me now too. Yeah. It's been a long time since Otangelo and I have had a date. So. Yeah. And I miss him. I miss you, Otangelo. I miss you.
Yeah.
Well, do I really? I mean, or am I better off without him? Anyway.
A little detail your biology textbook may have left out. The third cheat is something called relay synthesis. They buy industrial strength ingredients to start with, make mostly garbage.
Okay, hold on for a second. I'm sorry.
Produce trace.
Dannikins. Once again, the textbook thing is kind of a shitty deal because, Arvin Ra has been spending quite a bit of time on his channel debunking lies about textbooks. That evolution is like, I guess he's just following Kent Hovind and what he claims about what's in the textbooks. But now they're also saying not only is the textbook lying to you, it's leaving stuff out, which is, I think, a shitty thing to do.
Well, textbooks have to leave a lot out. Well, they're not. Yeah, I mean, they're teaching you stuff, and the part about abiogenesis usually happens at one page on a biology textbook, has one illustration, and it pisses them off to no end. That they're even mentioning Miller-Urey, but that was a very important experiment, and the results were incredibly important, and they were right on. Even if they didn't have the right prebiotic earth, they showed that it can happen. And lo and behold, we found these fucking things in meteorites and everywhere else. So we know it can happen. Even if it's 1%, that's a lot.
Amounts of something they wanted. Like in this experiment, they yielded 0.011% of the nucleobase adenine. Then they declare success. These chemicals can technically be turned into adenine.
Yeah, they can. You got to yield. So that's all they wanted to find out.
Even though it is unavailable to actually do anything because it's surrounded by garbage or consumed by side reactions and would quickly degrade, but whatever, details.
Yeah, that is a detail, and it's a problem, the concentration problem. And we don't know the solutions to that problem yet, but there are solutions to that problem. There are cycles where things accumulate. There are models where they accumulate. But yeah, they are details, and that's why abiogenesis is still working on it.
For the next experiment, rather than starting with what the previous experiment actually produced, this mixture of garbage, instead they now feel justified in purchasing pure adenine from a laboratory supply shop to further cheat at the next step toward life. And this sort of thing happens over and over again, completely detached from reality.
But you admit they are using natural ingredients though, so what's the big deal?
Just to be clear, the experiments are trying to show that these building blocks can form in natural environmental conditions. So yes, these conditions are natural, only in the same sense that your cell phone is also made in natural conditions with natural ingredients. The metal in your cell phone is basically just some melted down rocks. The battery's more simple elements, lithium and cobalt. The glass screen, computer chips, and circuitry, just fancy melted sand. The apps and pictures on your phone, simply arrangements of electrons, another completely natural phenomenon. Every element of your smartphone can be broken down into naturally occurring components, just in concentrations and purities and arrangements never found in nature, very similar to these lab experiments. But you know, I've never seen a cell phone happen in nature, not even one of those old crummy ones you can only play Snake on. How natural things are arranged in their concentrations is key. If I made a cell phone in a lab using ingredients created in factories, am I really simulating a natural process? Or am I using intelligence to direct and create? Now, scientists do acknowledge that starting with these industrial strength chemicals is problematic, but they often express this in coded terms laden with jargon to make it sound less awful.
Okay, hang on a second here. This is where they put the caveat.
But they often express this in coded terms laden with jargon to make it sound.
We do not intend to judge the motives of these scientists. Any specialized field will have its own obscure terms. It just so happens that it can also hide the reality of the situation and unintentionally mislead. Yeah, if you're not a scientist and you're trying to read the paper, you don't know what the fuck the paper says, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, what is their point? What are they supposed to do? But they have this little note that they flash on the screen for a second where they kind of admit that, oh, we're not really saying that they're liars and that they're trying to fool you, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. That kind of pissed me off that they made this little tiny note here to save their asses from the wrath of academia. Because of what they've done to them.
Sound less awful. Take this recent paper talking about their use of unnaturally high concentrations of ammonia. They say, this may limit the geographical areas where such chemistries may occur, an aspect that needs further investigation. Translation, nowhere on Earth could they ever expect to find the circumstances they contrive to reach the conclusions they...
Okay, is that what they said? That's not what they said. So they can, they said that it needs further investigation, that it limits, the geography where it can occur. But we fucking know that. They didn't say nowhere on Earth could they ever expect to find these circumstances.
They want.
Yep.
Yeah, but given enough time or enough planets in the universe, surely anything could happen. What if we had billions of years?
Some problems are not solvable by time. When people assume that lots of time is abiogenesis' best friend, it seems reasonable. But it's exactly wrong. They're not BFFs. At best, they're frenemies. Yes, time gives more opportunities for things to happen, but what's overlooked is that it also gives more opportunities for time to decay and destroy the trace amount.
Okay, here it is again. Okay, time basically will destroy anything. But during that time, the same conditions that are creating the thing in the first place are still ongoing. It's called equilibrium, motherfuckers.
Yeah, they leave that part out.
Yeah, they leave that out.
Yeah.
Did you put CRISPR's comment up? I'm not paying attention to chat because it's that X can produce one. But goals tried to show it can happen consistently fail and show it can happen. Yeah. Okay, moving on. We're almost done.
Biotic material that may have been created. Some of these molecules are very fragile. Their half-lives can span from merely decades, not millennia, all the way down to just days or even
12
minutes.
years?
The origin of life
years?
is not like a very long journey by foot, where if you could just make a little bit of progress, just one single step, given enough time, you could make it any distance. This is a problem of a different category. It's more akin to attempting to walk to the moon. Time won't help that sort of problem.
Oh, ain't that cute?
Well, to give you a rough idea of how large the chasm is, these experiments have produced small molecules like this. And this is just some of what they need for even a very simple, single-celled organism. Thousands of chemical ingredients must be present in the same place at the same time. Concentrations, chirality, with no ability to tolerate anywhere near the level of impurity found in undirected chemical processes or in the lab. Living organisms handle this by making most of the chemicals they need for themselves, on-site and on demand. But of course, that wouldn't be possible before they existed. The chasm between the starting point and the simplest possible life form is so large that abiogenesis is hopelessly and forever off limits to the mechanisms in question. It's not that there isn't enough time. It's nonsensical, like asking how heavy is blue. It's simply...
So if you asked your super all-powerful God how to get to Walmart, and he drew you that diagram, would you think he was intelligent?
Yeah. Love it how they just oh, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah,
they just
I
such
just don't get-
grasping at straws, right? Yeah.
What question is analogous to how heavy is blue? I'm not sure there.
Yeah, I don't know. They're talking about a category error.
Given time, isn't that basically that time plus process, or time and process can get these results, right? Time and process can also confound these results, right? It's just when the right circumstances hit, with the right material at the right time, is when you'll get the results that end up in life. It's that kind of the thing that they're trying to refute.
This is a pack of lies.
Yeah, I just don't get how this is analogous or similar to how heavy is blue.
I don't know. Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. They should have edited that out.
Yeah, if anybody out there can straw man this for me, I would. I mean,
or steel man. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep saying straw man when I mean steel man. If you can steel man this for me, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
The wrong question, and it betrays an ignorance of the scope of the problems involved. In spite of the observable data and our own experience showing us that, left to its own devices, life only goes one way, toward decay and degradation.
Okay,
Some still
why?
have faith that it could have gone the other way.
If that were the case, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, right. And that whole damn thing about stinky fish and everything, but in the beginning, I get what they're saying there, but it has nothing to do with prebiotic life. That whole idea of prebiotic means there were no germs, there was no decay in that particular sense. I'm sure there was decay in terms of chemicals and things like that were being produced under pressure and temperature and such things. But there
are a lot of fish rotting on the beaches, but there are still a lot of fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they kind of left that part out. So that's kind of the process of life.
Plenty of places where they're alive. It's like these creationists are not good with analogy.
No, they aren't. Well, they're good in trying to basically preach with them and turn people their way.
Well, they try to preach analogy. They reify analogy and make them just as real as the thing.
Oh God. Yeah, the thumbnail for this video, what's the name? Stephen Meyer. He comes up with the worst fucking analogy ever in the middle of that thing. I don't know if we'll have time to run it today, but we'll try. Because I was going to open the room up soon too. And then, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I got to send Peter a link because.
Before he holds you at gunpoint or something.
Yeah, there you go, Peter. I sent you a link. Where's my illustration?
So Germania, just to acknowledge, he's going on about he was a part of that little debate with Redefine also. In Praise's stream, and he's talking about it. I think he's going to do a video on it and all that. So.
With the MK guys?
Yeah, he came in after MK was on there with Redefine for quite a while, and then Germania joined in because it was just so bad. You could tell he wanted to join in. Germania wanted to join in because it was so bad, and he did. Apparently, Germania was drinking a little bit, so he had a little fun with it. So yeah.
Okay, now I was just looking at Nuck and Fucks Trigley. Decided to put my trigger warning up. Too many people complain that I've used my mod status, so now the bigoted trolls got all the warning I want to give. Okay, are you going after somebody? I don't know. Anyway, does he have a rent? I have no idea. Anyway, moving on. We're almost done. This torture.
Distant past with the origin of life. So, when you see statements like, life arose via chemical evolution, that sounds scientific. But that claim is more akin to alchemy or a horoscope than to science. Lots of narrative and hope, but little actual evidence. And so they rely on imagination and people's scientific ignorance to be persuasive. Make sure you subscribe to get notified when the next video is released.
Fuck you, people. We done.
Okay.
Okay. Now we can throw a link out in chat, but we got one more video I kind of wanted to check out.
Yep.
And I think we'll run this kind of fast because he makes a lot of really stupid points. But Immutable gave this to me. So
yeah.
Let's see. Pre-Biotic selection. This is Stephen Meyer. Somebody you should fucking know better, but he doesn't. He's a philosopher. He's not a biologist. So.
Oh.
This guy.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah. You know, and I just think his head's too small for his body. I don't know. What the hell is this? What am I? Okay. Open transcript. Close transcript. What's happening? What's wrong at YouTube? Sharing the stream. Okay, and sharing the stream. So,
theories of origin of life
have
rejected both the chance hypothesis and theories of biochemical necessity or self-organization. In this talk, I'm going to examine theories that combine chance and necessity as explanations for the origin of the information necessary to produce the first life. You may remember from one of our earlier times together that the Russian biochemist Alexander Oparin proposed a theory like that. Oparin combined chance and necessity by postulating that once little protocells called coacervates had arisen, that a Darwinian competition for survival would have ensued. He thought that the protocells that developed more complex metabolic processes and proteins by chance would have been favored by natural selection, which is a process that works in a roughly law-like way. Unfortunately, Oparin proposed this idea before anything was known about either the information-bearing properties of DNA or the complexity and specificity of proteins. But there is a big and obvious problem with his approach of invoking natural selection to explain the origin of the information in DNA or the sequence specificity of proteins. You may remember that according to Darwin, natural selection occurs when offspring of various organisms compete for survival. Those with favorable traits that help them survive pass those traits on to their offspring, and they spread in the population. Those organisms with unfavorable traits are more likely to die out, and those traits will therefore tend to fall out of the population. But notice what's presupposed in this process of natural selection. Already existing organisms. That alone might make it seem suspect to invoke natural selection as an explanation for the first life. If natural selection only occurs once you have living things that can compete, it does no good to invoke natural selection to explain where those living things came from in the first place. You have to have life before natural selection is a factor, or so it would seem. And that's why leading evolution.
And that's just a basic understanding of natural selection, I believe. And I know I would disagree with Demeter a little bit on this, but natural selection is as simple as imagine you had a sieve with a certain size mesh in it, and you strained rocks. That is basically naturally selecting rocks, and that's how simple it is. I mean, anything that leads to a higher and higher concentration of something is going to naturally select for that something. So when you run rocks through a sieve, you're going to end up with a pile of sand of a certain size. You know, if you do it right, you do it both ways. Anyway,
evolutionary biologists during the 1960s were critical of the way that Oparin used the idea of pre-biological natural selection. In fact, one leading evolutionary biologist, Theodosius Dobzhansky, put it very succinctly when he said pre-biological natural selection is a contradiction in terms. But there's an even deeper problem with invoking natural selection to explain the origin of biological information. Natural selection as a process depends upon something called self-replication, the capacity for pre-existing organisms to copy themselves multiple times, so as to create a competition among their offspring. But self-replication of even single cells depends upon pre-existing information-rich DNA and protein molecules that aid in the copying of the DNA. This approach is what philosophers call a question-begging one, because you can't invoke a process to.
So I imagine he's using the same kind of mistake with information that Otangelo did, like in that conversation with Jim Barrows.
Yeah, he refers. I may have missed it, but there's somewhere where he refers to the specificity of proteins, that it has to be a certain way. It can't be any other way.
Well, the phrase I keyed in on was when he said information rich.
What an asshole! What an asshole! You asshole! You are an asshole, Peter.
Put it up. Put it
Boot
up.
that fucker. Boot Peter. No, I'm not putting it up. That isn't what I asked for.
Okay,
Like,
let me show
okay,
you.
Your link is retracted. Go.
Share my screen.
No.
Share my screen.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. Oh, you son of a bitch. Anyway.
So if anyone needs a thumbnail with speed in it, contact me. I got one.
Oh, you bastard. Your rights are revoked. Anyway.
That's
okay.
what you get if you don't reply to my emails.
You
sent me an email and then I reply and then silence.
No, you didn't reply before the show started because I checked.
I didn't reply before the show started, but I did reply the moment I saw it.
After the show started, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
well, that's when I saw it.
So, Peter, what am I doing when I'm on, when I'm doing the show? I'm on the show. I'm not looking at my fucking email.
See, and this is why you're a terrible content creator. You have to do all of those.
Oh, I have to look at everything all at once, and
fuck yeah.
Well, that's what
that's what the professionals do.
That's what the producer's for. That's not for yeah. Okay.
Well, the producer didn't send me an email.
Yeah, I know, fucking producer.
To explain the origin of biological information that only results once you have biological information. As the Nobel Prize-winning biochemist Christian de Duve pointed out, theories of pre-biotic natural selection fail.
You know, when they cherry pick a quote, they always precede it with the Nobel Prize-winning or the PhD or the prestigious or the most respected evolutionists in the world. They always precede it.
That is how religion works. It is all an argument from authority fallacy.
Yeah.
So if you want to impress your followers, that's what you need to do. You need to come up with PhDs and with people in the field. I mean, Otangelo has a whole blog with quotes like that.
Yeah.
And thinks that it's impressive.
Okay. Moving on.
Quote, they need information, which implies they have to presuppose what is to be explained in the first place. Again, that's called begging the question. And I have a story to illustrate this fallacy of logic.
This is like the worst fucking analogy I've ever heard.
Imagine, if you would, an absent-minded philosopher of science who was walking home from work one day. I won't name any names. I happen to know an absent-minded philosopher of science. Anyway, this philosopher falls into a hole. At first, he doesn't know what to do. He's stuck. But then he gets an idea. He says to himself, hey, no problem. I'll just go home and get a ladder. So he goes home and he gets a ladder, and he comes back and he jumps in the hole, and then he climbs out. Now, what's the problem with his thinking and with my story? Well, it begs the question as to how the philosopher got out in the first place.
It begs the question how this guy got a PhD in philosophy, if that's what he has.
Yeah, isn't he using begging the question in the wrong way?
I don't know what the fuck he's. But his analogy was just so sad. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, I didn't like it. I don't approve Stephen Meyer.
Yeah,
do better.
Did you guys ever see his debates? It's quite a few years ago, I think. With there was three of them. It was Lawrence Krauss, him, and I forget the other person. They were all on stage doing a discussion/debate, and he had the major problem with the migraine. Like he couldn't think straight. He couldn't, and he blamed it on a migraine. And I mean, maybe that was the
that would be fun to watch.
He was a mess. Remember? I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but
I don't know if I've seen that one.
He was an absolute mess. You almost felt. I felt sorry for the guy. It was so bad.
Yeah,
I've seen him.
See if I can find that.
I've seen him be a mess without a migraine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you get a migraine in the middle of something like that, you're lucky to. It depends on the kind of migraine it is, what side of the brain it's on, or something. But
it
really messes with your. It can mess with your speech patterns. Of course, the pain can be just very distracting, as it is. So.
I have to wonder if he was honest about that. I mean, maybe he was. I don't know, but he started off. He was just a complete mess, and he couldn't even think straight, and he was struggling. And then as it went on, he claimed it was migraine, but I don't know.
Yeah, I had a migraine and I named it Danny.
Yeah.
To get the ladder, to come back, to jump in, or to climb out again. So begging, and that's similar to what's going on with these theories of pre-biological natural selection. They beg the question as to where you get the information that would get natural selection going. Now, some origin of life researchers have tried to get around this problem by envisioning a scenario where primitive RNA molecules by themselves produce variant copies of themselves that can then compete with each other. These primitive molecular replicators, as they're called, would then, in their view, gradually get more complex and acquire other molecules in association until finally the first life would arise. This theory is known as the RNA world, and we'll come back to it later to give a more thorough evaluation of it. But for now, I'd just like to critique one facet of this theory, its inability to account for the information necessary to produce a self-copying RNA molecule. The idea here is that instead of having life that can reproduce, you would have molecules that could reproduce and get natural selection going. But it turns out that researchers have produced RNA, they have produced RNA molecules in the lab that can copy a bit of themselves, between 10 and maybe 20% of themselves. That's pretty interesting, but it's also the best they could do, and it's not enough to actually show that the theory could work. But more importantly, even the limited success that has been achieved in the lab.
Actually, that's pretty fucking good. If if those, once you have 10 or 20%, that's pretty goddamn good. So the thing is, if it had just been replication and the replication was perfect without any errors at all, life could have never happened, which is something people miss occasionally. So errors basically the amount, evolution is errors in copying.
Only occurs if the RNA molecule has a very specific arrangement of nucleotide bases. In other words, it must have information before it can copy itself. That means that molecular replicators can't explain the ultimate origin of information. The existence of such replicators would depend on pre-existing information. The same old problem again. And here's another
Okay, that's not the way that works. I don't know, Stephen.
twist. Where do you think the information comes from that enables the RNA molecules to copy themselves even partially? That's right, it comes from the RNA chemists. They fiddle with the sequences of nucleotide bases on the RNA strand until they find one that allows limited self-copying potential. They call that RNA or ribozyme engineering. That's right, engineering. In other words, the information necessary to produce the self-copying molecule came from intelligent design. Now, next time we'll talk about the evidence for intelligent design and the theory of intelligent design and why it may provide a better explanation for the origin of the information present in DNA and RNA. In other words, the information necessary to produce the first life.
Can't wait. Can't wait, Stephen. Okay.
And
that's enough of that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me throw this in the description along with the other things. And I don't know, you guys.
I guess his PhD is in geophysics, according to Freethinker.
This guy? No, he's a philosopher, I think.
So he's Danny?
Yeah, he's kind of Danny.
Is he?
So how are you guys doing?
I think Meyer's a philosopher. I'm not. Okay, look up his bio so we know for sure. We don't want to get this wrong.
What's his middle initial?
What the fuck? Does he have one? Does he deserve one? I think his mom probably said, fuck it, I'm not naming this one. Just Stephen. We'll just call him Stephen.
Is it Stephen with a P?
I'm pretty sure if you type it, Stephen with a PH, yeah. If you type in Stephen Meyer, you'll end up with, Meyer. And I'm pretty sure you'll he should come up right away. I've never been impressed with this guy's.
Me neither.
The way begging the question with that whole information thing they was talking about is just very, very misleading as far as self-replicating molecules. And they come up with a sequence of RNA that was 150 or 120 nucleotides long that worked, and that was okay. You got it.
Okay. Somebody's got a tab open.
Yes.
Stephen C. Meyer received his PhD in the philosophy of science from University of Cambridge. A former geophysicist and college professor, he now directs blah blah blah. So somehow or another, he used to be a geophysicist, and so nothing biological in here.
How did he get to be a geophysicist?
It just says former geophysicist and college professor. It doesn't give his undergraduate stuff. This is on his page, stephenmeyer.org, all one word, .org.
Okay. Yeah, so it's undergraduate. We don't know what that was in.
We don't know what that was in.
So he, let's see, he worked for the Atlantic Richfield Company. Is it an oil company?
Sounds like one, but I don't know.
Arco, where he obtained a PhD in history and philosophy of science. Okay. Professor of philosophy at Whitworth. What is Whitworth? I don't know. Are you working, Peter?
No, not really. I had to make a thumbnail just earlier, but that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
why
timely
do you
delivery
ask?
of. Huh?
Why do you ask?
I'm just wondering how you're doing. Just checking up on you, man.
It's after midnight, so should people be working after midnight?
Oh, really? It's after midnight?
You probably do, I'm sure. Right? Would you agree with that? I bet you would. You work all hours of the night and mornings and everything, yeah.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 times it's after midnight.
Yeah.
I got to do the video description, guys, so I might be a little distracted. So if you want to fill dead air for me, that would be wonderful. The fuck do I have you guys around for? Midnight? What the fuck are you around?
Midnight's here to lighten things up.
Oh, lighten things. Oh, God. You can't help it, can you, Peter? It's just the albino jokes just fall out of you.
Okay, what did Peter? What did Peter say? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Go ahead, Peter. Do it again. Do it again.
As usually, I was being bright.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't hear you because I'm dealing with something.
No. We were asked to fill the dead air, and Speed said Midnight isn't saying anything, so I don't know why Midnight joined, and I said to brighten things up.
Well, there you go. For the best of Freya, guys,
that was so subtle.
University is a private Christian university affiliated with the Presbyterian Church in Spokane, Washington.
Okay, so that's who hired him. I don't know who Arco is, but yeah. And then let's see, we got the 2 SFT videos, which I think I'll link them in this description so we have them. But I think we should go over those at a different time. The original, where the fuck are they? Here they are. I got them. Working on it. I like to put things in my description. I don't know if anybody ever looks at my description. If you ever do, I would like you to email me and thank me for my descriptions, because nobody ever does that. Nobody ever gives me any kudos for my descriptions.
So if you have anything to say about the descriptions, put them in the comments below.
And, put them in the comments on the video.
And subscribe to this wonderful YouTube experience known as Answers in Atheism. And, there's a little bell that if you click on it and hit all, you'll get notifications every time Answers in Atheism goes live.
Yes. Thank you, Scott. Okay, they're all saved. Got them.
But if you are on the computer, laptop, any kind of mobile device, and you find yourself kind of bored, why don't you go over to Answering Atheism's YouTube channel and just kind of explore through the descriptions of various weather reports. You'll find some excellent information that you may have forgot to look into.
Yep.
The Maverick is still going at it with everybody in chat. I love it.
He's a Maverick. Hey, Simon Funk, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I have felt the absence of your presence.
Hello, peeps. How you doing? Okay.
Hey.
So all right.
I've come to sort out your problems.
Which one?
Oh boy.
Abiogenesis.
Oh, you're gonna fix it?
Oh yeah, no. I've known how this works for some time.
Oh.
I just can't be. But I've just been, busy doing other stuff.
There you go.
But Yeah, look, I'll give you it in pieces. Right, it's absolutely obvious when you think about it, right? Okay, so what is 70% of the Earth covered with?
Water.
Water.
Walmart.
That's your
Walmart.
first clue there. That's your first clue there. Water.
Okay. We have one clue. Okay.
Okay.
Carry on.
I hate to break it to you, but that is incorrect.
Look, please, Peter. I don't
All
need
right.
you to be correct, right? I don't need you to be. I don't need you to be correct right now.
Yeah, but no, you said 70% of the Earth is covered with water. That is incorrect. 70% of the surface is covered in water, not the 70% of the Earth, because we wouldn't have enough water. And if
All right,
we were
Danny.
to say
Danny,
that
please
70%
be quiet.
of
Danny.
the Earth would be covered in water,
Danny,
you would have solved the problem the flood myth
sorry.
has with
Sorry.
having not enough water.
Sorry.
I don't know what that
Simon.
means. I don't know what that means, David.
Good. Well,
I don't know what that means.
that's killed that joke then. Oh well, never mind.
Yeah, Simon. Oh my God.
Peter the premise killer.
I could do shit like that.
You're good at doing shit like that. Yeah.
Easily.
Anyway,
if you want to make a joke, be correct.
No, I don't have to be correct because it's a joke. The point about a joke is that it's not correct.
Yeah, but it has to be it has to be based on correct facts.
No,
and
it
then
doesn't.
make something
No, it
incorrect
doesn't.
out of it.
No, it
Peter-
doesn't.
Peter was wondering earlier.
Correct.
Peter was wondering earlier why I didn't send him a link right away.
Okay, should we start again? This time, Peter, can you mute yourself, please?
Please go on.
I shall remain silent.
Thank you very much.
Please. Do not
it's just not going to be funny now. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, I know.
It depends on delivery, you know.
Even I can't
delivery on your face.
Even I can't save a delivery once Peter's got in the way of it. Okay. What is 70% approximately of the Earth covered by?
Hey, isn't it water?
Starbucks.
Water. Good
Starbucks.
idea. Could be
Okay.
water. Right. Okay. So what utilizes water as its main power source?
Steam engines?
Interesting
Everything.
answer.
Everything?
No, you see, you don't know where I'm going. Homeopathy. That's the answer to abiogenesis, right? One molecule in a sea of water is probably the most powerful medicine you can get, and that's what started life.
Wow.
Homeopathy. It's obvious when you think about it.
The homeopathic universe.
Homeopathic.
God.
I call it homeo. I call it. Hang on, Peter. You're being quiet, please. I call it homeogenesis.
Homeogenesis.
That's amazing.
Thank you very much. It's my own theory.
And what if you're homeophobic?
Hold on.
What if you're homeophobic? What does that mean?
No, Peter, we're not being accurate.
No.
Get your
But if that
European,
also-
Dutch sense of humor. Take it to Germany where it will be appreciated.
No. That also would explain evolution, because the further you dilute it, which would be happening over time, the more powerful it'll become.
Yes, correct.
So
That was the basic of the theory of the joke. Yes.
yes. So it will also explain why we don't have genetic entropy, and why things are getting bigger and better.
There you go. I mean, that's not logical because, of course,
that's logic.
No, that's not logical at all because, of course, the amount of water on the planet doesn't change.
Now, see, I've been asked to explain
does,
logic
but not
once
much.
to a guy from Belgium, and he said, "What is logic?" And I had no idea how to explain that to him. So I said, "Okay, let me ask you a question." And he said, "Okay." He said, "I said, you've got a ring on. Are you married?" And he said, "Yes, of course." I said, "Well, see, that's logic. If you have a wedding ring, then it's logic that follows that you are married." I said, "Do you have any pets?" And he said, "Well, I've got an aquarium." I said, well, what do you have in that aquarium? He said, fish. I said, see, that is logic. If you got an aquarium, you have fish. So
yeah, I
he
see
went
your
over.
basic problem there.
Yeah, so he went over to his
I'm
partner
going to
and
just
said,
spoil
no,
your
hold on,
punchline.
hold
I'm
on.
going to spoil
Don't
your
ruin my
punchline.
joke
I
because
want
I
you to
ruined
be
yours.
fucking accurate here.
No,
right?
no, hold on. Don't
talking
ruin
about-
my
we
joke
are-
because I ruined yours.
We are
He went
talking
over to
about-
his partner and he said, you know what?
talking
I
about
just
a
learned a new
Belgium.
thing. He said, I just learned a new thing. And his partner said, what? He said, logic.
Mm.
And he said, what's logic? He said, well, do you have an aquarium? And he said, no. He said, so you're not married, so you're gay. See, that's logic.
Gotcha. See what I mean? It's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Pain in the fucking ass when somebody wants to be pedantic.
You can't teach anything to a Belgian. They're
I think
rejected.
pedantic. We should change the word pedantic to Danny.
Yeah.
Pedantic.
Pedantic.
Pedantic. Anyway,
no, if you're going to explain logic to a Belgium, you say, get some chips and dip them in chocolate.
Here's the thing, Speed. You should change the word to stop the video from foreskin into pedantic.
Pedantic.
Because people then want to be pedantic about something that is being said on
pedantic.
screen.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, my good friend's cat passed away recently, and I just thought I would put a picture of him.
Hey, raw nakedness. Good to see you.
That's
Ice
it.
cream as bones.
He was a wonderful kitty, and he had so much fucking attitude that, like, he killed all the other cats. So anyway, he's pretty cool.
He
He's a
doesn't
cool
look
cat.
old there at all. He doesn't look very old. Did he die of old age or something else?
He was. He had urinary issues that were basically making him just horribly miserable. So he was only 13 or 14, almost 14, I think. So anyway,
That picture he looked fairly young, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just devastated. It's just it's just such, I mean, it's like my cats. I mean, I'm so bonded with them that I almost hope that they outlive me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to handle it, but anyway, thought I'd put a picture of Sour Job. That was a buzzkill. Anyway.
Yeah, put a picture of a
now
dead
you got us
cat
all
up
sad.
there, buzzkill. Yeah.
Now you all sad. Now you all sad.
Well,
Professor Raw Nakedness.
We need to each raise a beer to Sarge in our own way.
Yep.
Speaking of Belgiums, we're going to Spa this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to Spa.
Spa?
Spa. S-P-A.
Oh, you guys got going on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's Spa.
Is this a race? A race or what?
Oops,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I keep
We're
thinking
being
about-
racist.
Yeah.
This weekend, yeah. In Belgium, which is easy to be racist in Belgium because they've got one of the best circuits in the world.
You know, if you want to, why would you watch other people race? Get in your car and take it out, get a quart of vodka, and step on that fucker.
Right.
Well, then
Yeah,
you
but
get like a crew
mainly because I can't afford the 125 million that it costs to build the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
don't
the
have to
problem.
have like a pit crew and a whole bunch
Well,
of
just
extra
wait a
tires.
minute. You can buy a goddamn Bugatti for 3.2 million. Why spend 125?
If I want to be
Well,
pedantic,
there is a performance distance.
I have to say Simus already has a pit crew. Granted, it's a pit crew of one, but he technically has a pit crew.
I do, yes. Yes, I fly every race. I fly Peter out to the Grand Prix to report on live from the Grand Prix.
Yep.
Comes as the perks of being one of my pit crew.
Do you really do that?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, so it's a global sport.
Oh, wow.
I probably spend
I mean, Speed, there's one person who acknowledges my incredible graphic talent that
I don't
bring
give you enough credit.
to the community.
I'd give you more credit if you got me the thumbnail before the goddamn show started. But But I give you a lot of credit, Peter. You've done a lot. You've done a lot.
Well, if you start sending me links before the show starts, I might be checking my email to see whether.
Oh, I see. Isn't the Grand Prix in the United States?
No,
yeah, that too, but that's later this year.
The next one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and next year there's going to be two.
In Austin, Texas.
Yeah, next year there's going to be two. There's also going to be a street race in Miami.
Oh,
so are they sending you? So
you've been confirmed.
They're going to let you in the country, Peter, next year in the United States.
They'll have to.
I don't know if they have to.
They do. I'm pulling a few strings at the the whiteness.
I'm putting up a stink about that. I'm definitely going to write my congressman about that for sure.
What is the date of that, by the way?
Simus is sponsored by a tampon factory, so he can pull some strings to get you.
Classic Peter there. Thank you so much. Yes, it is true. By the way, it work with wings. I think that's the phrase.
If what?
It works with wings.
Yeah.
It works with wings.
Let me just look it up. Mexico, United States, October the 24th.
October 24th. Okay.
Yeah.
Might coincide with a visit. It's hard to say. It depends on if they have a bat cruise or a faithless forum on that time. I might be in Austin. I don't know. But I just sort of, I got to call somebody and ask them about letting you into the country, Peter.
Yeah, well, sure.
It's called Circuit of America.
I've got the graphic skills to look different when I enter the country.
I see. Yes.
I can just put on a small speed of sound head and I'll be.
Yeah, they'll let you in anywhere. That's kind of an amazing thing when I go to airports now. For some reason, I've got some sort of, I don't know. It's because I'm old or because I've flown so much.
It's because you're old.
Fucking let me in anywhere, and they send me to this fast line, and you don't have to take your shoes off, you don't have to check your bombs or anything. They let you go. I don't know. It's weird. Weird.
Oh my god! Someone doesn't think that a photon is matter.
Oh no.
Yeah. He's been arguing for over an hour now.
Quick question, Maverick. Do you think a photon can have no momentum? Okay. Anyway, that's just enough of that. I dare say I won't get an answer to that.
Yeah, don't waste your time with Maverick. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but yeah.
Speed, you may have to ban Lucky 7 Wolfin. They just said Formula One is corrupt. We can't have people. We can't have people like that.
Corrupt? Ooh. What? You do understand that the FIA is a French organization.
Yeah.
Can't be corrupt if the French.
And most of the teams are based in Great Britain.
That is true. Yes.
And the most influential team is in Italy.
I think I just updated the thumbnail for this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Good for you.
With a little shrinkage factor. A little shrinkage factor.
I just added a cameraman to my studio.
Something more accurate. Anyway. Yeah.
So what is Dessel going to be wrong about today?
Yeah, Dessel. Oh, Dessel, thank you for leaving your papers up. Are you going to leave those up? Because those are pretty important.
Yeah, I responded to you in chat. I thanked you for reminding me because I have to take them down.
Oh, fuck you. What an asshole. I mean, that's actually a pretty good library. I think you should keep those up. Or at least you should send me a link to every one of them so that I have them somewhere. So I don't have to fucking download them all.
I might leave them up for a little while.
Okay.
I'm basically just I'm recording them mostly for myself. I figure some people might like the idea of what you were doing with paper trails, basically reading the articles as a kind of audio storage. So people have that available right now. Yeah, there's like 20 of them up there so far. But yeah, eventually I'm going to take them down because all my stuff ends up private.
Why? Why?
Because I'm selfish and I want all this knowledge for myself. Fuck you guys.
Oh, okay.
By the way, Maverick just said in chat that massless. Wait a minute. Matter cannot travel, but massless particles can. Well, Maverick, you might want to check YouTube because there are channels dedicated to massive Americans traveling. So apparently, mass can travel.
And in actual fact, right, photons have a rest mass of 0. That doesn't mean they're massless. They have momentum. Because they don't stop moving. They're always moving. So, of course, they always have some kind of energy with mass as a result.
It's because they're so damn fast.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, should we shoot in the head?
Right.
I'm trying to develop the energy to care enough to respond to everything that was in the LSS video and the Stephen Meyer video.
Yeah.
But so far, I'm kind of unsuccessful. I just don't have the flame to do it right now.
Yeah, and there's just really not a hell of a lot to respond to other than the fact that they called a huge section of academia liars and cheats for some reason, and they're calling all textbook writers liars and cheats. And
okay. All right, so I agree with the point that you were making before about the purity of the substance and how it's important to know that that's specifically what's causing the reaction. So I think that that's important. It's also important to point out that of the two major theories today, the hydrothermal pools and the hydrothermal vents, Damer and Deamer have gone out and tested in nature with success. So when they act like it's all just a matter of testing inside a pristine laboratory, no, some researchers have gone out into the field to do what they can with that with successful experiments. But nevertheless, the laboratory experiments are perfectly fine. They do have to make sure that that reaction is what is taking place. They do their best to simulate these environments. And I think that in terms of the hydrothermal vent reactors, they do a pretty damn good job. You could see there's a paper in Origin of Life Reactor to simulate alkaline hydrothermal vents published in 2015 or 16. Likewise, you can check out RNA oligomerization in laboratory analogs of hydrothermal vents or something like that. It's Michael Russell, published around 2010. So you could see how they're setting up their experiments. And I don't think that there's anything illegitimate in the way that they're doing it. All right, so I'm sorry. Just give me like 2 seconds to try to just get all this shit out. I feel like I'm doing this on duty today.
Yeah.
By the way, Speed, I got a question. Stephanie Tretton, wasn't Stephanie Tretton a believer?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephanie Tretton
Yes,
put it in the side chat, massless. Well, that would be Protestants, as opposed to the Catholics who mass more.
Yeah, the rest mass is 0.
Okay,
there's the different types of mass.
But Dessel is going to run
You're
on
not getting
will.
the joke, Simus.
Oh no, I am. I just don't think
as
it's
a
funny.
British guy, I would think that you would get the joke.
Yeah, I get the joke, of course. Yes, mass.
Okay,
Very good.
let
It wasn't a
Dessel
good
continue.
one.
Let Dessel continue before he loses his will to continue.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry. All right, so you had that LSS video, and then after that, there was an after show on Standing for Truth, in which a lot of the people who are responsible, I guess, for putting together some of the content of that video all got together and had a kind of like after party show. So like the thoughts on my brain have to do with the video and with the after show. So the first thing they talk about is how, so like they mentioned that they show the asphalt problem, which basically some pathways to synthesis don't work out. You end up producing this tarry asphalt nonsense instead of actual viable organics. Is that the case in terms of the hypothesis that I support, hydrothermal vents? No. the plausibility of the foremost reaction in alkaline hydrothermal conditions or vents or something like that by Omron 2020. Test the plausibility of the formation of the organics. That Origin of Life paper that the reactor article for alkaline hydrothermal vents that also via the foremost reaction synthesizes ribose. So synthesis of the organics under this model works, but then they have a bunch of other stuff that they go on to say. For example, all of this waste product, like you see that the image they had of the little organic molecule amongst all this waste, and it gets crowded out and it can't survive. And they talk about like degradation, how like RNA, for example, will degrade quickly in water. And so you were talking about how there are cycles that concentrate them, but you were saying that we don't really know very much about that right now. But as a matter of fact, I mentioned this sometimes, thermophoresis, which is basically the production of a heat gradient. There's been a lot of experimental work done on that. Sostak in 2009 published an article. It's actually published by a researcher by the name of Budin. So Budin 2009, formation of protocell self-assembly in a thermal diffusion column, in which they were able to take oleic acid and concentrate. Basically, their conclusions included a concentration for like lipid fatty acids for lipid fatty acids up to 800-fold. They were able to concentrate it using the thermal gradient. So you had that, and then you had the Origin of Life reactor paper again tests the concentration of ribose, and they effectively concentrate that. And then there's one final paper that I just got done reading last night. The hell is it? So it's called A Thermal Habitat for RNA Amplification and Accumulation by Saldit 2020. And he too tests the effects of thermophoresis in order to concentrate these organics. So you get this accumulation. So their complaints about low yield are moot, because if you have a system where the synthesis and there's a process going on that accumulates that synthesis, eventually you get a much larger yield. Unless, of course, they'll say it degrades quickly. The problem with that response is that there's so many things that actually help stabilize it in the environment. Not just the environment either, but also stabilizing interactions between the organics themselves. Like Demeter points out that paper of mutually stabilizing interactions between protopeptides and RNA. And they're able to increase the life of RNA by like, I think it is the peptides, the protopeptides that increase the length of the life of RNA by over 30-fold. It might be the other way around, but I think it's the RNA that gets its life is increased 30-fold. And then the RNA in turn has helpful interactions in terms of the stability of the peptides. And so as these things form, they're also helping to stabilize each other. The lipids and fatty acids and amphiphilic vesicles, these stabilize as well. And there's a bunch of stuff on how they help to stabilize the amino acid peptides and the RNA nucleotides that the lipids help to stabilize them. And then you got, let's see, there was waste, dilution into the ocean, and hydrolysis. These are other ways that you can lose the concentration in chemical reactions. So the dilution doesn't work in alkaline vents because the thermophoresis concentrates all the organics together in the minute aspects of the vents, and all of that waste gets percolated out by the hydrothermal fluid going into the ocean. So their whole thing about waste gets handled by the dynamics of the vents. It has its own natural waste removal system. As that water flows out, the organics are getting trapped, all the waste is getting discarded. There's more shit, but I've blabbed enough. I think I've said like a bunch. But the last thing that I'm going to say is that during that after show, And there's the thing about hydrolysis, and just look into serpentinization. I've sent you some articles on this that tests how serpentinization acts as a buffer against degradation by hydrolysis. It actually introduces this kind of almost akin to the wet-dry cycling, but it's going on underwater through this process of serpentinization that's consuming water and manufacturing this mineral buildup. So the last thing I'm going to say is I asked on that after show about serpentinization and thermophoresis, and they didn't know what those processes were. At best, James Carter did try to respond, and he started talking about catalysis, which you could say is indirectly related to serpentinization, because serpentinization includes the mineral buildup. But there's so much more going on with serpentinization besides that. And thermophoresis has absolutely nothing to do with catalysis. And so I think what they showed there is that they're criticizing these models without actually understanding how they work.
Right.
And James Carter described himself as taking the position of refereeing this field. And I think that's just, it's to suggest that you're in a position to referee this field when it's very clear that your bias is that you want this to fail. I don't think that, at the very least, if you're going to be a referee, I think you should be thoroughly familiar with how these various models work and how they answer these problems. But when I mentioned these solutions and, that have been given experimental support, he didn't know what they were. None of them knew what they were.
Yeah.
And that's everything.
It's because they haven't looked into it. There are a bunch of papers by Yaris and a few others on peptides stabilizing RNA complexes, and the stabilization is pretty intense. It's powerful, and but they don't degrade as quickly as they say they do. They don't just instantly disappear, and if they're constantly being put back into the into the cycle, they're going to accumulate at some point, particularly if there's some favorable combination of peptide RNA.
Now, wait a minute. I thought, according to SFT, it's the secular biologists who don't look into the latest, greatest stuff that they're finding out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. The problem is that if you have a belief, you're just not going to look. And if you don't look, you will not find. So anyway, I'm trying to find this diagram that they showed on Long Story Short. That whole diagram that they were scrolling by, the metabolome, but it's hard to find a really good high res one. Anyway, if anybody knows, I'd like to know where it is, because I love charts. Put it on my wall. I need more walls. Okay, guys, can we shoot her in the head today?
I exercised my demon, so.
Okay, good. Left. And thank you for that, Dessel.
Sure.
It supports what I already thought about people in the field of creation science and abiogenesis. They just don't know the work out there.
Oh, sorry, dude. You mean homobiogenesis?
Yeah. Homeobiogenesis, yes. Okay, guys, we're going to end for today. I have issues.
Okay, boss.
We all have issues.
I've always said that.
Yeah, I know. Peter.
Yes?
Be good, Peter.
I always. I'm not just good. I'm fantastic.
You are fantastic. Fantastic, Peter. Okay.
I hope there's going to be a punchline to that joke.
That wasn't a joke. That was me being incredibly serious.
Here's your fucking punchline, guys.
Answers in atheism.
Speed's got a tiny head.